Hey everyone, it's Kayla with the Celebration Company, and I've got something fun for you today. But first, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. And also be sure to check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram for a lot of other fun ideas just like this one. Let's create a thrift store bunny. We're just going to give it a little bit of a makeover. So this bunny is just a plain, simple bunny that needs a little bit of an update. So I'm just going to take some regular school glue and I'm going to brush it all over the bunny. And I'm doing this pretty quickly and I'm making sure to try and stick to one direction. I'm going up and down the same direction as the bunny's fur. And we're just going to coat the whole thing. Again, I try to work pretty quickly so that the whole bunny is wet. Now, I'm going to use my heat tool to just kind of dry it a little bit. I want it to be tacky to the touch so that the very surface is dry but underneath is still wet. Then I'm just going to take my paint. I'm using acrylic paint here. And I'm going to just cover the whole thing, and I'm going up and down the same as I did with the glue. Just trying to keep in the same direction. And as I did this, you can see sometimes there might be bits of glue that might still be a little too wet. And if it's not really covering, if you notice the paint doesn't cover real well and it starts to kind of slip and slide around, then probably the glue is not dry enough underneath. So I tend to just kind of skip that area, move on, and come back to it. So you just want to work pretty quickly. If you don't get this whole thing like really well covered, it's okay because we're going for sort of a antique look. So then we just start drying it and you can see that crackle finish start to appear as we dry it. It's really fun to watch the crackle just kind of show up. So that's kind of the first look that we're giving this little bunny, is a fun little crackle finish. And you can do this with any color paint. Obviously, whatever color is underneath needs to be lighter than the color you put on top or darker than the color that you put on top so that you can see that color underneath. So I'm just giving it a really good dry, making sure it's really good and dry. And now what we're going to do is distress it just a little bit. So I'm using my burnt umber, this is by Apple Barrel, and I'm just going to brush it on, and then using a baby wipe, I just start wiping it off. Now, you will remove some of the paint probably if you're too rough with this, especially if you start doing this right after you finished painting, but I like the way that that looks because it just kind of adds to the distressing. So I wipe quite a bit of it off. I want it to have just a little bit of that burnt umber in all those little crevices, but also to just give it kind of a wash of an antique look over the whole thing. So you're just going to repeat this all over. I just work section at a time because I don't want that paint to dry before I get a chance to wipe it off. I keep using baby wipes and I'll kind of wipe some and then I'll get a clean sheet of baby wipe and keep wiping and wipe off a little bit more. You can use the same technique on lots of things. You just want to make sure that you have texture to whatever it is you're doing, because when you get that burnt umber on something with texture, it just truly brings out all the texture in the item. So I think this is just a fun technique. It gives it just sort of an old antique distressed look. I think it certainly looks a whole lot better than it started out looking. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.